welcome. Hello. I know, it's been a hot minute since I did one of these. It's your boy Lazz. Who else would be making this godforsaken content, you could say. But yeah, it's it's been 10 months since I did one of these. So I was busy doing that special edition one, which was the one that got posted about a month or two ago. But this is the standard format for Lazz Logs, mind you. So um, there's going to be a lot to cover for sure. There's going to be no media elements for this, so you can just kick back, relax, listen to me ramble on for a while as I cover updates and whatnot for life. I don't think anything too crazy has been going on the past 10 months, but I definitely kind of want to do a follow up and whatnot. Um, so just kind of going over with general life stuff. So at least starting off with that. So work. I know the last time I posted something, work was slow. It was supposed to pick up, and it did. It picked up around January, and simply put, it was balls to the wall for a hot minute there, and we're picking back up again. We had a little bit of a break in between some big projects that we're doing, but I'm still trying my best to keep that work-life balance. It's been a bit challenging, I'd say, for the past month, give or take. But they're rolling out some new software and programs and things, and nobody has a workflow set up for it yet. So that's kind of the big downside as to why I haven't had time, well, as much time as I would like for personal life stuff. Ooh, excuse me. Ooh, excuse me again. Kind of belching here. Sorry. Having a nice cold beer on this extremely, extremely hot day here. But I'm still trying to make time for myself. I've done my Mondays off kind of thing since the start of July, and now we're in middle of August, and by the end of August it'll I'll stop taking the Mondays off and whatnot, so we'll get back to 5 days a week starting in September for work and whatnot. But I'm hoping I'll still keep that work-life balance thing. I know that's my biggest push since stepping down as a lab manager, but I thought I'd just kind of cover that. It's busy now. It's busy for sure, but still trying to make time for it. Okay, I want to move on to just lifestyle stuff and whatnot. What's been going on in my life? Not really much. Obviously there's things that happen, but you check out the website, you see how often I post. It ain't often. I'm posting more game captures and other content that I can't think off the top of my head. That's horrible to say, but like Let's Plays and other specific topic projects and whatnot. I know I'm selling it today. What can I say? 10 months away from doing this, and here I am just pussyfooting around and not knowing what to say. It's my favorite thing to do. What can I say? So I kind of want to cover a little bit on gaming and whatnot. I'm not trying to step away from Let's Plays. I do love doing them. I just kind of felt like that was an easy go-to thing to do for a what I like to call a topic video, which is a project-specific video or topic in general and whatnot. That I thought I'd just take a break from it. For the most part, I know if you've been following me for a while, at least for the gaming stuff, and you've seen I've kind of gotten back to the Xbox One. I played all my games and stuff on the PS4 and whatnot. And, it was a good time, but it's crazy actually to kind of look back at my last Lazz log, and technically the last time I did that, I was still playing Left Alive. which is wild because it it doesn't feel like I've played that yesterday or anything like that. It doesn't feel like that at all. But it's like, damn, I thought it was a little bit longer than 10 months ago when I kind of beat that game. But yeah, I guess it might have been October, November, sometime around there. When I beat it. But yeah, I mean it's crazy and whatnot. I know I haven't said anything or posted. Well, really, I haven't posted anything on the site or any of my socials, but I do have a PS5. I've had a PS5 maybe, I wouldn't say a month now, but it's been a hot minute. And yes, I do have Death Stranding too. And yes, I know this is the time to play that game. It's new, everybody's getting acquainted and everything. And trust me, I haven't been really seeing anything to spoil it and whatnot. It's just, man, I still have a gaming backlog that I have to do. I mean, obviously, if you're following my content, I'm playing Far Cry 6. That game's going to be a while. It's obvious that game is definitely going to be a while, and I'm not trying to do a 100% completionist run on this, but, I have fun looking for all the different caches and things like that, because it helps improve the weapons and makes the gameplay more fun in the end. But, there's still maybe one or two more games after that, I believe. I think something like that. I know I got a few more games after Far Cry 6. I think the next one that comes to mind is definitely Deus Ex. Not Human Revolution. Whatever the last Deus Ex game that came out. I know it's horrible to say that because I would say I'm partially a Deus Ex fan. I never played the original one, but I've seen enough stuff and understand the lore on how the game goes with JC Denton and whatnot. But I do have that. But it's like I said, I still have a backlog to play. Got to get through that backlog first, and then then we'll get to that. So maybe it won't take as long. But I mean, it's like I said. I mean, Far Cry games are. They're huge. They're huge. They always take me months, if not a year or more, to complete because I do have a real life, and a job and things like that I have to keep up with. But that's kind of the gaming news there. I only want to touch a little bit on a more personal level. I have been having some truck issues. Fairly recently. I'm not too concerned about it, honestly. I mean, I say truck issues, but really, I was just having a string of bad luck happening all at the same time. Like, I had a bolt, not a nail, a bolt stuck in my tire that, even though it was dead set in the center of the tire for how big this thing was, it just messed up the tread where it wasn't a matter of, hey, we'll patch it. It was, hey, you need a new tire, which, I mean, wasn't that big of a deal because, I had a spare, but I mean, technically it was weeks before that is where, it was time to do an oil change and then the brakes needed to get done and whatnot because, I was told, okay, the brakes are getting worn out and whatnot. So, I probably already spent like, I don't know, $600 already on that. Well, less than $600 on the brake and the oil change and doing all the maintenance. And then the tire thing happened and that was another $150. And now the thing that's happened 2 times now, and it hasn't happened again, is just my truck, it just disables itself. While driving, and at least looking into the issue and whatnot, it's I don't think it's a transmission or a powertrain issue. I think there's something else going on because at least looking into my truck model and whatnot, I guess it can do flex fuel. I got Ford F-150 2011. So I guess it actually has a flex fuel package. I guess, I mean, the tailgate has one of the things on it. I've drove around in a flex fuel truck from our fleet at work. I don't think it is, but I know they had so many different variations of flex fuel. You had the full ones that would do it, where you could get like 600 miles to the tank. It was insane. I kind of wish I had one of those trucks, but they all got sold years ago. Missed that ship, or transferred to another office. But yeah, if it is something like that, it indicates that a unit might have to be replaced on it. I'm just keeping a closer eye out to it because this has happened 2 times now within the past 30-ish days. Um, and at least looking online with forums and things like that, it just indicates that, hey, usually this is a one and done deal, and then you got nothing to worry about afterwards. But now this has happened 2 times, and I've seen for some people it's happened kind of back to back, where they had no choice but to take it to the dealership. And I know I've already spent a lot of money on the truck and whatnot. I mean, not like, oh no, I'm upside down on the truck kind of spent money. It's just like, it just goes back to that saying, when it rains, it pours. And unfortunately, that's just what's happening with the truck. I mean, no better than anything else. One thing breaks, then a whole series of things break for whatever that individual item is. It happens. It happens. So, I'm just taking that day by day. But that's probably the only thing recently that's been kind of like, oh wow, something exciting besides you posting another long ass gameplay again. Oh joy. Alright, and I want to talk about the house a little bit. Nothing crazy happened. Just kind of some AC issues and whatnot. Nothing too drastic. Got them fixed and repaired, and obviously that was more money to shell out, not only for the people coming out to check on it to see what's wrong, which there really isn't anything wrong with it. And we rebuild the base that the inside unit sits on because it was becoming dilapidated, and I'm assuming the previous owners of this house, at least well, I say owners, but really the owners was a wife and a child, but I guess the husband that passed away a few years before I bought the house, he was like a super handyman. And it shows, and I don't want to say that in a bad way, because it's not like spotty work, but it shows like, you could have probably did that better. That kind of thought for some of this stuff. So I have a feeling, at least looking at how the AC unit was installed, I'm wondering if he just had an AC friend that bought him all the stuff, and then he just wired it and hooked it up and went to town, and then the AC guy just charged it up with Freon or whatever, all that stuff, or maybe he bought it himself. But I wouldn't say it was spotty, but the base and how everything was set up, the base was becoming dilapidated because the condensation from the unit wasn't draining properly and was just soaking into the base, and the unit was becoming unstable. And that did help, but I have a feeling that we're only having these AC issues because the kind of heat that Florida has just been dealing with. It's been, I don't know. I don't want to say 3 weeks straight because I know there was a little bit of a break, but and it's August too, so technically this is the hottest month of the year here in Florida. So, but for almost 3-ish weeks straight, there's been a heat advisory every single day where, you get highs around 95, but then the heat index makes it 105 to 109 outside, because of the humidity and all that and whatnot. And all that's in Fahrenheit too, for for anybody that uses metric. It's like, holy shit, 105 degrees Celsius. No, 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 no. We're not boiling alive. No, 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 no. This is Fahrenheit. This is Fahrenheit. So, like, for Celsius, for all of my metric fans, that's like 35 to 37 degrees Celsius is a high temperature, but it feels like 43, 44 degrees Celsius because of the humidity. So, like, that's what it feels like to you when you go outside and do things. Whoop. Yeah, sorry if I'm messing up the mic or anything, because it's like I said, it's really hot, so I don't really have my my remote clipped to anything. So sorry, I just kind of pulled a little bit there. I wasn't expecting that. And I guess a little bit of the house update, just as an FYI. It is hurricane season. We are a couple of weeks getting close to the peak point of hurricane season, so I know anything can happen during this time. I mean, that's the price to pay to live in Florida or in anywhere that gets affected by hurricanes. It's no better than being in the Great Plains where they it's Tornado Alley there. That's the price to pay to live there. So I'm used to it. I know we already have a very powerful storm out there. I think it's Allen or something. I haven't been keeping track because it doesn't seem like it's going to be a threat to the United States. I know it's getting ready or already hitting like Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, unfortunately, and I hope those guys are doing good, because the last time I checked it was a Category 5. So that's catastrophic. That's not even, you're beyond life-threatening at that point when it's a Category 5. So it's catastrophic damage. So I hope everybody's doing all right over there. But so that's kind of my general life overall. I want to move on. Told you. Well, I don't think I said it, but this is a big update. It's been a while since I did one of these, so it makes sense. It'd be stupid for me just to spend a little bit of time and then that's it. So I know with the last one, I kind of talked about the AV station. I know that I've posted some blogs about it. I was going to update it, bought a video card and all this, and everything blew up in my face pretty much. So just kind of following up with that. I got the new 6 terabyte drive. It's in there. It's rocking and rolling. No surprise that works fine. Let me take a sip real quick. Hate to pause like that, but I should have paused sooner. I told you it's been a while since I did one of these. So the GPU, I bought it. It worked, and then it was less than 30 days. It just stopped working. I don't know if it fried. I don't know what the hell happened, but it just completely stopped working. Can't do nothing about that. I still have the same Elgato unit. I haven't bought anything new and whatnot. I was considering getting the 4K X model, but I decided not to because I was mostly just set on, okay, well, let's just try to get like 60-ish frames per second and whatnot, which I'm now doing that. The microphone, I've only used it, I wouldn't even say 2 times, the new microphone. So I'm still using the classic microphone, which I think it would probably work just fine. I think it's really was a software issue is what I was dealing with before, because I was using the default Elgato software that would record and do everything. And it was only after when everything blew up in my face is when, okay, well, let me try doing, 60 frames and this and that. And it worked fine for a little bit, but then there was an issue with the software. And ultimately I switched to OBS, and OBS is just 20 million times better than the default software that comes with the product, which I'm not really surprised. That's usually how that goes. It comes with whatever software that comes with the product, it's very niche. It does the bare minimum for what you need it to do, but it's my starting point to my hobby. So, obviously, of course, I'm not just going to jump out there and just, well, let me get OBS and Adobe and this and that and whatever. But, the only sad part and regret that I do have is I did mess around with OBS like sometime before, but it wasn't even for game captures. It was more so I was considering setting up a streaming server, and I wanted to use that to help stream the content. I forget what it's called, like RST. Whoa. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that, but there is a storm that is brewing outside, so it's getting epic. The thunder's getting louder. But as I lose my train of thought and go, and I hate doing that. So, yeah, so software. So the thing is with the, I only tested Elgato, or not the Elgato, the OBS software before because I was thinking about streaming to the, RSTS protocol, whatever that protocol is to stream video and audio from your server or whatever your point of content is. So, for the microphone, the issue that I had was obviously on the microphone itself, it didn't have a mute button, kind of like how the headset has, which is the one that I'm using currently. And for the Elgato software, I guess if you pause because you couldn't mute during gameplay. You could pause the recording, but I guess if you pause the recording, it just corrupted it or something. Like something happened, and this happened when I did a gameplay or a game capture of Left Alive, and it was like 7 hours of content that I just could not use at all. It just got that messed up, which, it just couldn't encode properly and whatnot. And that's the thing that I noticed with the Elgato software is it's using a different encoding function that I guess the graphics card just can't do. And remember, this isn't the new GPU that I got, because I don't know if the new GPU got fried or what, but if you follow my blogs, I explained the whole thing happened. It happened like 28 days after I installed the new video card. It just stopped working. So I don't know if I fried it or whatever. I'm still a whiles away from getting anything new or a machine capable of holding the video card to test it out to see if I really just spent like, I don't know, I just spent $300 or $400 on that thing. It wasn't like the top of the line thing, but still, it was a damn good graphics card. And of course, video editing software, which I've been posting blogs about. So I was trying to look for something new for video editing software, and well, not even posting blogs about. I mean, that was technically the last Lazz Logs. What am I talking about? Technically, Lazz Log 11 was that special edition one where I have a 5-hour video that probably nobody's never going to watch because it's a simple fact of Lazz, my guy. It's 5 hours long of you testing software out. Shorten it. And I get it. I do get that, but I'm the kind of dragon, I like posting things in their entirety. I mean, you can skip around, you could do, or not watch it. That's just how I currently like doing it. I know that's not I wouldn't say the best practice because there isn't really too many practices, at least that I know of, when it comes to posting content. I guess I could buy one of those, you know, schooling courses online for, oh, well, this is how you could be a YouTuber. Yeah, because that's totally what I'm trying to do in my life. Yeah, no way. But anyways, yeah, so as you've seen with that whole series, that took me months to do, I thought I was going to use something, and then I found out in the end, oh, that's a subscription-based program. So the video pad editor is not subscription-based. You can if you want to, but it's like I said, if I was trying to monetize on this, or if I knew I was a bit more on top of making and editing videos and things, it probably wouldn't bother me to pay for a subscription service. Because obviously I can back out at any time. Unlike for the video pad editor that I currently use for video editing, I'm stuck. But also I'm stuck with the version that I have too, so it's not like I can't get the new one, but I can get the newest version at a discounted price or something like that. I haven't looked into it. That's something I'll look down the road, way far down the road, because, everything's fine the way it is, and that's okay with me. So that's kind of the follow-up for everything for the AV station. So the current state of the AV station, which I was able to take care of before I started this recording and whatnot, I had that new 6 terabyte hard drive, and believe it or not, in 10 months, that thing was getting ready to max out. Like, it was at 90% with the last recording that I did. That's currently being edited as I'm doing this now for Far Cry. And, I think I might have talked about this before, but, I don't want to cover too deep in the details because I've, So, after the whole escapade of trying to upgrade this and spending, I don't even know how much more money on this silly hobby of mine, I pretty much told myself, okay, if the storage space fills up, the new storage space fills up on the AV station that I have, then I'm going to leave myself one of two choices. Either I can clean up the hard drive, which wouldn't be hard because all of it has all the raw videos and whatnot, and technically I save copies of those or whatever to the server, so it's not the end of the world. But usually for me, I never have to go back to it, to any of the raw video. Usually whatever I get for my final products that I post, I'm content with it, I'm happy with it, and I feel like if I ever had to go back to something, I think I could go back to what I have posted and edit that or include it in another video. And I wouldn't call that foreshadowing. That's just that I just never had to deal with that yet. I know that's not the ultimate best practice for things, but it works great for my stupid little hobby. So that'd be option 1. Option 2 is get a new system. And it makes sense. Like I think it was manufactured in 2013 or something, maybe 2015. I'm pretty sure it was 2013 when it was manufactured. And then I bought it refurbished with additional things and whatnot. And when I bought it, it met exacting specifications for doing the game captures, which works great, as we can see. For the content I've posted, it hasn't been perfect, but at the same time too, it's also kind of been a learning curve. I learned not to use the default Elgato software that don't work right unless I have an awesome graphics card. Then I guess it doesn't matter, but I don't, not anymore. So the other thing would have been replacing that. And, earlier in the morning before I even did this video, I was just sitting and contemplating, considering what am I going to do and whatnot. And it was a hard 50-50 split between the two, where I just kind of told myself, you know what, I just want to do the most easiest thing possible. And the most easiest thing possible is to clean up the hard drive. To me, it's easier to clean up the hard drive than it is to, okay, let's just buy a new system and do all this stuff. So I will still have this system for a hot minute. I don't know if that will be the same case the second go around, or once when the hard drive gets filled up. I will say that the hard drive only got filled up as fast as it did was because I was using the Elgato software, and when you were doing the 60 frames and the high fidelity and all this, the files were bigger, which makes sense, obviously. I'm talking about 100 plus gigs it could have been for a 2-hour video, 100 plus gigs, which is whatever, but the the OBS software is so good at transcoding and compression that I can do a 6-hour video and it's only 20 gigs, and that's at 60 FPS. So, and it's like I said, that's kind of been my new minimum quality, is if I can do 60 FPS, then cool for that. And I think there's only been maybe 1 or 3 videos by time when I edit it and whatnot, I can only get up to 45 FPS, which still isn't bad. But then again, at the same time, you know how long my videos are if you're following me. They're stupid long. Okay, they're stupid long, and I get it. Nobody isn't going to sit through the whole thing. And even if they do, more than likely, they have it on in the background. They're just listening to whatever, and then if they hear an interesting point, okay, they'll check it out or something, or they'll just, tab through it or whatever. Scroll through it. What the hell do you call that again? I don't know what the hell you call when you just go through the video randomly. I don't know if it's scrolling. I don't think it's tabbing, but you just get through the video. But yeah, so with all the AV stuff that I talked about all the way back at the start of October, nothing's changed. I bought all that stuff I didn't buy the Elgato unit. I was thinking about buying the Elgato unit after I tested the GPU and everything, and that's when I learned really quick, okay, I ain't even going to waste money on that. But yeah, so that's the current state, and I felt like that's definitely worth bringing up since I left off on the last one with, hey, all this promise and whatnot, and look, I know a lot of people aren't coming to my site and checking the blogs and whatnot, and if you do like the updates that I do, you're either following my socials or you're really counting on these Lazz Logs to get your feed of what the hell's going on with the dragon and whatnot. Uh-oh, my pen's not working. Yes, I wrote notes. What the hell is going on? There we go. All right, so I already know we're into this pretty long right now. But so the last thing I want to cover is site updates, which I know that's how I left with the last one. Before I do that, let me take another sip here. That's some sort of ice cold delicious beer to, warm me up during this hot day. Well, hot evening. The day's over. So I know I left off with the last one, security issues and things like this, and all that jive and whatnot. And obviously, for a while, I have been using Cloudflare for that. And, if you still come to my site to check my stuff, I already know well, Lazz, that's great that you switched to Cloudflare, but nothing has changed. And you're very right about that. So, I kind of want to talk about updates that I'm definitely going to be looking into around the end of the year. Because if you've been around with me long enough, you already know December time is when I do server updates and just general maintenance on the server. So the site, it will be down and all that hullabaloo. So, since I haven't said anything in a while, and since I know that the admin dragon hasn't posted anything because it still talks and theories and ideas and whatnot, because we're probably not really going to jot anything down probably until November-ish is when we'll really start nailing down on what we're going to do for the updates and whatnot for the server. But I'm just going to kind of talk about this for a little bit, the updates that are on the horizon, because there are some things that I will say for sure is going to change. It's a matter of I don't know when. But anyways, enough of me foreshadowing. So getting back to Cloudflare. So I'm set up for Cloudflare. I got everything moved over. I'm almost tempted to move my domain services over to them because I can if I want to. Because before, when I first acquired Lazz.network, it was through Google, and then Google sold it to Squarespace. And I don't have a problem with Squarespace. It's just I don't really use anything on Squarespace. I mean, I didn't really even use anything on Google neither because, I got all my stuff. Just, hey, give me my domain name, and I just set up all the stuff there, and booyah, it works, I know I can use all these other features or whatever. Now, Cloudflare has a whole bunch of additional features and whatnot. And so I will say this. I know that the site still indicates that there's still security error and whatnot. And it's probably been halfway during the year is just by messing around and whatnot. Those services can work. The issue is Cloudflare as a company, they can issue security certificates, but they're not necessarily recognized as a certificate of authority. Google is, and that's how their services work. So when you get a Cloudflare account or whatever, when you set up your domain or wherever you want to forward things and whatnot, the thing is that it has to go through their tunneling services, because that tunneling IP address that it goes through, Google recognizes that, and then boom, it's secured. No problems, no questions. The certificate's valid, and it answers a lot of questions. And I'm pretty sure if some of you made it to this point of the log, I'm pretty sure some of you might be thinking, okay, so if you figured all that out, why haven't you done it? Do you have a problem with the tunneling or anything like that? And I don't. I don't have a problem with that. I don't really care if it is my original IP address that hosts the site or whatever. It just has to work, and it does work. The issue is that with a lot of the other components of the site itself, I had to make a lot of subdomains, and those subdomains don't carry over too well for the standard default services that you get from Cloudflare. I think it's a paid service is where you can get subdomains and all this other stuff. So I know by the end of the year, this will probably be something we will look into to see if there is a paid version that can cover all this, if we will start implementing that. But obviously, the more money we're going to throw at this, I don't want to say, oh no, now there's going to be ads and this and I have to monetize, but it's going to come down to I have to be cautious for what I'm going to do because this money comes directly out of my pocket for this hobby that I'm willing to share. Or I don't want to even say the hobby that I'm willing to share, but just the things that I'm willing to share online, that there are plenty of other platforms out there that I could use for free. You know, the only benefit here is for me having a site. I can post whatever I want, whenever I want, and then I set the rules and terms and conditions and whatnot. That's the big benefit of having your own website. And I know I've said that more than enough times, and I'll keep saying it again. If you want to be unlimited on your abilities and not have to worry about all of any nuances at all, even going to a well-known site like YouTube, remember YouTube, you got terms of services that you got to follow. So you can't put anything and everything that you want into a video and post it there. So, and I'm not saying I do crazy weird content like that, but it's those things there is why I like having a website. So far, for the entirety that I have been doing this, which is probably maybe close to 3 years, give or take. I don't even think close to 3 years. I'm just saying 3 years is like a tops number. But the thing is for how long that I've been doing this, so far YouTube has only, well, one video they absolutely didn't let me post at all because it had way too many copyrights, which totally makes sense, which was a Death Stranding video. I think it was like somewhere in the 50s or whatever. And I was just overweighted, and I was stubborn, and I was just going to walk my way to the next destination. And I already knew this is going to take minutes, if not like almost an hour to get there. So obviously I'm jamming out on music, and I thought I would just add the same music that I was jamming out to the video, and obviously copyright got flagged, and it couldn't be posted. It was just straight up banned. You know, no strikes, no nothing. And then I think video 2 of Far Cry 6 that I've posted, I'm pretty sure if you're looking now, on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you noticed, so wait a minute, you got 1, then 3. And the thing is I guess some of the music that plays on the radio of the vehicles and stuff, you know, it's like I said, I'm not in it for the money, so I don't care if it gets if it's copywritten material or, you know, gets a copyright strike or whatever. But I guess for some of the music that played on it, I guess wasn't allowed in other countries. So it was partially blocked to other countries, and it didn't say what countries. Or maybe nobody noticed. I don't know. But I know on my end it indicates that. Unlike for my website, it's all there. Everything is there. You know, it's the de facto for where to go for everything that I do. But I know, obviously, things like security issues and whatnot, it does perturb people. And and I can keep beating the hammer, beating the dead horse, whatever analogy you would want to say about this. But, like, look, I know it's daunting to go to the site, but I assure you, the site itself is safe. That is the issue that's going on with the security certificate whenever you connect to it. That's why it still gives you an option to advance if you choose to do it, even though it says it's unsafe. If it was completely compromised, your browser would not let you go any further. Let me tell you that right now. If nothing checked out at all, it wouldn't do it. So I just want to be very open about that if you ever have any doubts and whatnot. Not that I'm trying to get more site traffic there, because once again, I don't have ads, I don't monetize on anything. It's more so, it's a guarantee I always post everything on my website. Everything like YouTube, Blue Sky, Telegram, Discord. It's just small little tidbits and updates. I don't include everything with that. If I feel it's important enough, I'll include a link to it, but where does the link go? To my website. And I know I've already heard from a couple of people that follow me and whatnot, like, dude, like, I just don't feel safe going there, so what's going on? And either I'll give them a gist or I'll just say, well, it's there, so it's safe if you want to go there. And most of the time it's like, I don't feel safe. It's like, okay, that's your choice. I don't blame you. It's better safe than sorry for anything. I don't blame people for that one bit. So besides me rambling on about that, overall, that is something that we are going to look into by the end of the year. It's not a guarantee that we are going to do it, but even if we do it, the other issue is we don't know if subdomains are covered, and while the main site will work, media components like this file itself will not load up because it's in a subdomain that is not secured, so it won't load it into the site. Because we did test it out for a little bit, and yeah, cool, the certificate worked, everything worked, but that's the problem, is for how the site and how all the contents are set up. Nothing will really work because of that. So that's why we haven't done anything. That's why it'll be something we might look into, but once again, we're spending money for a convenience for somebody to maybe use the site, but then again, maybe not. So that's why it's that. And it's like I said, I would have to spend my own money to do that. But that is something we will be looking at the end of the year. So I know that's something I covered with the last video. I just kind of wanted to cover that again because I know it looks like, I know if you go to the site and you pay attention, if you actually do look at the certificate, I know you've noticed, hey, it does say Cloudflare, that's cool, that's great, but nothing has changed. So what the hell, Lazz? That's the what the hell moment. Some of the other things we will be looking into that I'm only going to touch base a little bit is we might be turning some functions off for not only the site but Lazz, but for wow, that was a loud thunder there. I don't really see any lightning, so I don't think we'll lose any power, but that was loud. Ominous. Going to be upset if we lose power, because I don't know if this recording is going to save. But anyways, so turning off functions of the site. So the thing that myself and the admin dragon have been running into, we've been running into a lot of people, I don't even want to say users because there's really no new users on the site, that's just posting ads specifically in Russian for a casino, different casino apps, and the weird part is there's not even a link to the app itself. It just describes this casino thing you can do that I'm sure you can do it on your phone, and it's all in Russian. And they're only doing this because obviously comments are open on the site. You don't have to have an account. You can leave a comment as a guest. This might be something we might be changing. We may not leave it open like this because we've been getting more of that for the duration of allowing guests to comment than actually getting good enough feedback, or just some feedback that's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, or you just posted it here because it just seems like there's a lot of traffic going to this post specifically, so you're just hoping somebody will see what you have to say that's not relevant to the content. myself and the admin dragon, we look at everything on the site. So, and there ain't a lot on the site there, when it comes to it. So that's why it isn't hard for us to kind of figure out, okay, here's a new comment here and whatnot, and this just doesn't vibe with whatever. Or here's a new comment, and it's like, hey man, great post, but, you know, I thought about donkeys or something. I'm just completely pulling this out of my ass, by the way. And then it'll have a link, but they can't even do links properly when they do it. So I think they're assuming it'll automatically hyperlink on the site, but technically you have to, if you want to put a link in a comment, you have to select the button to say, hey, this is a URL link. So a lot of people are that lazy where we've dealt with comments like that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever, that we've just been banning them. We've just been banning them and preventing them from being reposted by whatever IP address. But obviously with VPNs and things like this, they can, of course they can get around it and whatnot. So, it's that, as well as, we've had some posts like, man, this is a great post and this and that. It's like, I'll post it to my blog, and then they'll put a link, my invisible air quotes here, because it's not actually linked, so it has the name of whatever their blog site is, and obviously I'm not going to it, but I'm going to look into it to see if it's safe, and it's just some other different site or whatever, where I know the admin dragon's been cracking down on that too, where, he'll follow up with like, hey, look, thanks for the compliment, but please do not post it must be relevant or whatnot. It's like, look, if you want to leave a shout out to your site or something like that, we do have the shout box that is publicly open. I know that's near the bottom of the site, and that's probably why they don't want to touch that, as well as that has a limited amount of characters, unlike the comments. It's an unlimited amount of characters. So we already know what's going on here, but there's a chance we might be turning that function off, but we don't know how, or if we are or not, because it's not like a constant attack. Like, the most in one day we might get is 3 of either the same posts or similar posts on different posts on the site. So whether if it's like our downloads page or blogs or something like that, of, hey, whatever casino, check out whatever casino and whatever and whatnot, and so it's like I said, it's very infrequent, so that's why it's not like a 911 emergency. Otherwise, we would have already did something about this, but it's definitely something we're going to look into by our December updates. We may not be allowing the public comments, even though we would like the kind of engagement, only because this is the kind of engagement that we're getting. So it just doesn't make any sense to continue that if we're just going to be spending more time banning those IP addresses that do these things to the site. So it's that. But I don't know what direction that we're going to, so I don't know if we're just going to turn that function off, or if we're just going to be completely turning off comments, or because obviously if we turn that function off in general, okay, then you can have an account, or if we're even going to allow accounts and stuff too. That's something that's kind of been bounced around a little bit, just because we really haven't had a new user in like 2 years. So, which, once again, it's likely because of the security issues, which I get, but it might be something that we might step away from too at the same time. So that's kind of the big thing for the site. The other thing is we may not be continuing the FTP for Anonymous, and it's not like anything weird's going on, just nobody's using it. We have the downloads functionality working on the site. We have files, files that integrate to the FTP site, so you can do it through HTTP. And the bigger thing too is we have a new ISP that we're getting gigabit internet fiber connections. So worrying about if the download fails to go all the way or whatever is kind of we don't really have to think about that anymore. And that was kind of the reason why we still stuck with FTP. It just made sense because if you used FTP software, it would keep the connection alive. But now it's going to download it. If you have any issues, it's because it was a connection, something just lost, and then you'll just try it again and then it'll just work. It's that. That's really what it is at the end of the day. So, that's kind of some of the stuff that we're looking that we might be changing the functionality of the site, like that in general. Sorry, I didn't mean to bump into the mic. So, some of the other things that we're looking into. So we've been considering some new server apps and things, ease of life for not only for myself for everyday use, but also just, for people that come to Lazz.network and whatnot. And, at least initially around at the start of the year, we kind of looked to see what the server is capable of doing. And, we found 4 things, and we kind of already did 2 of those things already. We looked into a new CSM, knew it just wasn't going to work out. So, we backed out of that. I'm pretty sure something was already posted for the invisible air quotes scanning server, because, I do scans and whatnot for work sometimes. And, I use the server to have the scans and easily access them at work and whatnot, because I hate using the scanner at work because it sucks. I know, personal preference issues. But, so I tested that software like a couple of months ago. I just had some time on my hands, and I've been using that for a while. But there's two more tumors. Oh no, there's no tumors. But there's 2 more apps that we want to look at that we might implement at the end of the year, which will kind of dictate if we're going to have a downtime for that to make sure it works, or if we're just going to kind of integrate it as we go. It's once again, it's like I said initially before. Usually it isn't until November is when we really nailed down on what we're going to do in the process. It's more so since I've just been quiet about things in general, and even for whatever that I've been posting, it's just everyday content stuff that, this is the time to get this out here too. So, so I'm thinking about podcasts. And there's a podcast hosting software there that, we just got to see if it's going to work and whatnot. It's been out and around for a hot minute. So, since I seem to talk a lot, kind of like with this video and whatnot, I'm thinking in general, maybe I'll start doing podcasts. But it really depends on how well this will integrate to the site and the server and the services and everything else that we do, because technically I wouldn't need this. I could just post more content like what I'm doing now, but instead of it being in a video format, just an audio only format. Because remember, people, this is one of the things that drive me insane. Podcasts, you don't need a camera. Everybody thinks I'm going to do a podcast, I need a camera and a mic. No. You just need a good mic. A good mic and a good program that can transcode it, where it can stream if you want it to stream, or if you want it to be downloaded to a device. That's how a podcast works. That's how it's been since its existence. And the second thing, we're looking at a new document management system that we're not 100% sure if we'll be able to use it for everybody, or I don't want to say for everybody, but for the site's contents in general, if that would help, like for downloads and things like that. It's like I said, we still got to mess around with it. So that's the thing, is it could either be something that would be for the whole site for the public to use, or this could be something that maybe I can use on my end for work and whatnot, so I don't have to worry about FTP and stuff. FTP works because it works. It's the reason why it's been around as long as it has been. It just works. It works. It's a simple protocol. It works. By the way, it works. So I know this is another thing that we're looking at, but I know that one's going to be up in the air until we really start playing around with it. The podcast thing is, regardless if that software works to help, or if it does, where if it integrates or doesn't, it does bring up the $1 million question to me: do I want to do podcasts? Because it sounds like those could be fun, maybe more fun than the game captures. But so that's kind of the future for the newer apps and whatnot. And then I just want to end on this note that still covers site updates and server updates. So I know we haven't posted anything about this because we really don't have a plan or anything in action. All we know is that we're just going with the flow for how we have everything set up. Everything's going to be fine and whatnot. It's more so if we have to ever upgrade the hardware of the server itself. So about a couple of months ago, the PHP version that we need, that runs the CSM, that is the website that you're visiting, either that you're listening to on now or that you might check to see, is getting dropped, or has been dropped, has dropped support. So the thing is I've already tried running the site under newer versions of PHP, and it just breaks the site. It's unusable. It's completely unusable. And the thing is that I don't really have a backup plan. We don't have a backup plan. Let me rephrase that. We don't really have a backup plan for what we're doing or how we're going to do it, what the future will be. But the thing that we know for certain is the days of us using this CSM, more than likely, are more than numbered. It's a matter of, it's a ticking time bomb at this point. So if the main system ever crashes and fails, it's more so, can we recover it to an older version that would still support that version of PHP so the site can run. And that's something we don't know, because definitely from the manufacturer that manages the system software updates and whatnot, it made it very, very clear, because they're at version 5, so we're at version 4 point something, because that still supports that. And even it said, hey, so before you switch to version 5, make sure you check your software, because this is what we're not supporting anymore. And fortunately, I can install newer versions of PHP on the server, and then I can just switch in between those versions to see, okay, how well is this going to work or whatever. Which I'm glad that's an option, because part of me was like, well, let me just upgrade it and I'll see. But that's the thing too, is it was a big warning, because it's like, well, once when you upgrade, you cannot revert back. It made that very, very clear. Like even if you have an older version on a disk and you try to redeploy it, it will not. It won't install again. So yeah. So unfortunately, for the site in its current state, I don't know how much longer we'll have this. And this is something that we're not necessarily going to look into by the end of the year, even though it probably would be a smart idea to. But the only reason why this isn't a... Hell, I wouldn't even say it's a code yellow for this, for how we're treating it. You know, it's a greenish yellow color is the emergency state of this. And it's more so because we're still going to get security patches and stuff with us keeping to the old version. The thing is that we won't get anything new apps wise if we wanted to install it. And which is fine, because I mean, for everything that's on it currently, it works. You know, I'm happy with it, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I'm happy with it, and you know, for whatever that is hosted, does work. So it's not like, well, you know, you gotta wait a minute and do this and usher the magic words, and then it'll work every time for you. You know, no. It's far from that. So, yeah, you know, I definitely wanted to put that out there. I know regardless we were going to say something, we just didn't know when, but since I'm actually doing a Lazz Log, I thought this would be the perfect time to cover this, since I'm also kind of talking about site updates too. So, we may not have this site in the future. Near or far future, I don't know. But if we get anything new hardware-wise, it probably ain't going to run. You know, only the past couple of days, just with us messing around and checking things out and whatnot, you know, we did notice that there is a Docker version of this that would run, and it has its own version of PHP, and, you know, it would work, but it heavily implies it's not intended for production. So I don't know what that means exactly, because it's vague. So does that mean only one user at a time can connect, or 5, or... But it's like I said, it's not like we get a lot of traffic that comes in at the same time. So that might be something we might look into the future. That will be the most quickest fix. But really it comes down to, should we continue even using this? Because, yes, I do have skills of building web pages. It's been... I'd say it's been almost a decade since I had to build or manage anything that was actually web pages. And that didn't include any kind of databasing functions and features that this CSM has, that's ready to go out the box, and all you got to do is just set a couple of parameters and it's ready to go. So there's that. There is that. But, you know, it's like I said, I just kind of want to put it out there. This isn't a tomorrow thing or a next year or the next 5 years or something. It's just something I want to get out there, that the current format of the site may not continue to be like this. And you might hear something in the future sometime where we might indicate, hey, this is how we will continue hosting the site. Or we might just say we're not going to host the site anymore. It's that kind of broad spectrum currently with that. And I know it's daunting to say that, but that's kind of how we feel right now. You know, it's like I said, it's not even a code yellow. It's definitely not a solid green. It's like a greenish yellow for the emergency code for that. But yeah. But yeah, that kind of covers everything for this Lazz Log here. I told you it was going to be long, but like I said, it makes sense. The last one was in October. It's been about 10 months since I did one of these, and you know, like I said, it's not like there's been a lot happening in my life during the past 10 months. Obviously, if you've been following me on my socials and seeing what I've been posting, obviously I'm still doing stuff, you know, so it's not like, oh man, where have you been? You know, yeah, no, I'm still doing stuff. It's just I was definitely for sure doing that hunt for a new video editor. That took a lot longer than I thought that was going to be, because work and time and motivation and things like that. And I thought I would just try something different for the Lazz Logs, because I was in the middle of a topic video anyway. I think I was doing like Resident Evil 5 or something like that, doing a Let's Play. But anyways, this has gone on long enough. You have an hour of me talking. If you made it to the end here, well, thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and it's not like Lazz Logs are going to disappear. Even if I really get into podcasts and stuff, I don't think I'll ever get rid of Lazz Logs or change the format of Lazz Logs from being this to a podcast. I just don't think it would play well, because I like the idea of it still being in a video format in case if I do have video elements that I would like to share, which this one doesn't have. But yeah, it was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was good catching up. And hopefully it ain't going to take me forever to do the next Lazz Log, but also depends on what's going on in my life too. But until next time, guys. See ya.